Fantasy Filmball. My name is Dyl, and today, crazy enough, I think we're going to be talking about the first Oscar contender for the 2027 Best Picture race, which is kind of crazy to say considering the fact that I saw this film before this year's Oscars even took place, the one where one battle after another wins Best Picture, and where Sinners came out nearly a year before the ceremony and stayed in the cultural conversation all year long, getting the record-breaking 16 nominations and coming up just short in the Best Picture race. But I say all this to say, the film that we're talking about today, Project Hail Mary, I don't think will do to the degree of Sinners, but can follow in those footsteps by being the big populist blockbuster hit to come out in Q1 and stay in the conversation and end up in the Best Picture final lineup of 10. But I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. If you are new here, welcome into Fantasy Filmball. On this channel, we talk awards all season long. We have film reviews just like this one. We also have festival coverage where my co-host Matt just got approved for the Cannes Film Festival today, so expect on-the-ground coverage at this year's fest, as well as doing awards predictions all season long. Our first 2027 Best Picture prediction episode hopefully will be out by the end of March. If any of that sounds interesting to you, consider dropping a subscription. YouTube tells me currently 53% of all of you out there currently are not subscribed, so it would mean a lot to me if you would drop a subscription to help our channel continue to grow and keep you involved with everything that we're talking about here on Fantasy Filmball. Because it's kind of this like running joke among me and my friends and my family that there's just the quintessential cool guys out there, the guys that as a dude, you kind of want to strive to be like. You had the likes of some newer faces like Austin Butler, Michael B. Jordan, or Timothée Chalamet going to the more older guard of like Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt, Denzel Washington. But I have to say, maybe Ryan Gosling is the quintessential cool guy, and I think Project Hail Mary really proves that. But inside of Project Hail Mary, Ryan Gosling stars as science teacher Rylan Grace, who wakes up on a spaceship light years from home with no recollection of who he is or how he got there. As his memory returns, he begins to uncover his mission, solve the riddle of the mysterious substance causing the sun to die out. He must call on his scientific knowledge and unorthodox ideas to save everything on Earth from extinction. But an unexpected friendship means he may not have to do it alone. As you probably gathered from that short plot description right there, Gosling stars in what is basically a one-man show getting to showcase all of his best abilities. He really dominates the screen, pulling in so many laughs out of you with each and every minute. And if he's not just making you giggle, he's showcasing his movie star charisma. And on the flip side of all that, he's doing some deeply emotional and impactful dramatic moments while also bringing this epic stoicism to these action set pieces. Project Hail Mary is a film that largely relies on Ryan Gosling's talents to stay afloat. Yes, I could go on and on about how this story is so captivating, adapting Peter Weir's best-selling novel, or how some of Greg Fraser's visuals are just so top-notch. The Oscar-winning cinematographer delivers some of the best visuals we've seen in his illustrious career so far. And of course, the pacing is among one of the best of the year. At being a nearly 3-hour movie, this film does zip and zoom on by. But in my opinion, none of that really matters if the guy that you're watching on screen, largely by himself for 2.5 hours, was uninteresting or ineffective or kind of repelling. But Gosling is the exact opposite. I honestly can't think of an actor who was better suited for this role than Ryan Gosling. But with all that being said, let me actually circle back to some of those positive aspects I mentioned about Project Hail Mary at large, because this is an incredibly well-crafted movie from top to bottom. I mean, it's really hard to do space cinematography injustice, but as I mentioned before, Greg Fraser, the guy that we know from The Batman, the guy that we know from Dune Part 1 and Part 2, is here, and he goes above and beyond with the visual style of his camera. I'm sure there's so many stills that people are just waiting to screenshot in high def. There's these amazing set pieces where the camera weaves and moves in and out with such creative flair, and of course there's the color palette. You've seen it from the trailer, you've seen it from the stills, the eye-popping greens and reds and pinks, especially with the backdrop of the deep dark space, just looks so visually captivating. And speaking of the visuals of Project Hail Mary, I do have to give a shout out to the effects team here with everything that they have to do with Rocky. I'm not going to go into too much detail about Rocky's involvement in the story in case you haven't read the book or you haven't seen much from the trailers, but like it is in the trailers, it's not that much of a spoiler. But whether it was largely visual effects or puppetry or whatever they did with Rocky, it's all so seamless. Like you don't feel like that is a fake creature. You feel like Rocky and Gosling are in the room together, interacting, bonding together, and you're watching a real connection unfold in front of your eyes. In addition to everything that I've said so far about Ryan Gosling, I think that James Ortiz, who voices Rocky, gives this character so much life, so much energy, so many warming and charming factors that you really do feel like this is someone that you could bond with if you met them out in the wild. With all that being said though, yes, this might be a little bit shorter of a review than the ones I've done recently. I mean, I did one for The Bride a few weeks ago where I felt like I was just rambling about why that movie did not work for me and how I was excited for it and it let me down. But Project Hail Mary is kind of on the flip side. It's a film where the initial trailers and teasers kind of evaded me. I didn't get them in front of many films I saw in theaters. I didn't see the ads on YouTube. But it wasn't until a few weeks ago where I actually saw Crime 101 of all things in an IMAX theater, and I got the prologue, teaser, whatever you want to call it, for this film, and it looks stunning. I was hooked. Gosling was really hilarious in that short teaser, and the visuals had me locked in, so I was super excited for the last few weeks, and then I finally had the opportunity to see it this past weekend in glorious IMAX 70mm up at AMC Lincoln Square. I am so jealous of people who live near a real IMAX theater because that screen is so massive. Here in Philadelphia, we have one, but it doesn't usually operate to its full degree over at King of Prussia. Matt lives in New York now. I'm sure some people out here live in New York or LA or wherever there's true IMAX screens. Just know I am super jealous of you because experiencing Project Hail Mary in that format might boost my overall opinion of this film, but it's easily my favorite release of 2026 so far. And in fact, I find it to be quite a high bar that I'm really excited to see various titles throughout this year can rise up to the competition to potentially dethrone this film to be my top movie of the year. I mean, we have Nolan's Odyssey, we have Inarritu's Digger, we have so many movies that I am super excited for. We have Michael, we have the drama coming out here in a few weeks. But Project Hail Mary has a grip on me, and I don't want to talk too much about it because I want all of you out there to go experience this film for yourself and to form your own opinions, because I could sit here going into specific stuff about the plot that I did or maybe didn't like, but movie hasn't come out yet. I don't want to spoil stuff for you. I just want to give you a glowing review of Phil Lord and Chris Miller's Project Hail Mary. And that kind of leads us into what this channel is all about, awards prospects. And that's because these are two guys who really haven't had the chance to stamp their claim in awards season yet. I think people, especially my age in their mid-20s, are really attached to these filmmakers. I mean, these are the guys who brought us the hilarious Jump Street films. These are the guys who gave us the inspiring Lego movie. The guys who gave us the adaptation of Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. Well, maybe that one's just me. I read those books nonstop as a kid, and I just remember watching those movies endlessly, one after the other, after another. But now they make their foray into, I don't want to call it auteur cinema, but more awardsy blockbuster type cinema, and I really think that's Project Hail Mary's path to awards season, is following the footsteps of something like Barbie, something like Top Gun Maverick, and maybe even something like Dune Part 2 or Sinners from a year ago. It's these films that could have the merit on their own, but get the added boost by being the populist, the blockbuster choice of the year that stays in throughout the season. It's the film that everyone at least enjoys, if not loves. And then you kind of just have to give it one nomination after another. But I would say at its very floor, this is the bottom potential for Project Hail Mary. You have sound, you have visual effects, and I think it's win competitive in both of those categories. For me, it's really, what are your thoughts on Dune Part 3? Are you one of those people out there who thinks it's Return of the King? Or are you one of those people out there who thinks it's more Fire and Ash or Wicked for Good? Two very polar ends of the spectrum there, but I struggle personally to see two space movies in Best Picture between Dune and Project Hail Mary. I've seen Project Hail Mary. I know how good it is. I know how much I like it. I know how much the audience I saw it with ate it up. And I know, at least from the people who have seen it from early access screenings, adore this movie right now. I think the general consensus on Letterboxd is a 4.4 out of 5. So clearly, the people who have seen it have loved this movie. So that's why I'm currently slotting Project Hail Mary into my Best Picture lineup. So continuing with its nominations, if it makes this Best Picture lineup, I could see adapted screenplay be on the board. Very similar to like all those movies I just mentioned, especially with like Top Gun Maverick, where it's a film on its basis where maybe you don't expect it to be a screenplay player, but like the strength of the film helps push it in. And this is another adaptation from the guy who wrote The Martian, so I just think it can follow in some of those Martian footsteps. So we have sound, we have visual effects, we have Best Picture, we have adapted screenplay. Production design, cinematography, I think could be in the cards. Looking ahead a little bit, we haven't done our first predictions nominations, but those look to be two pretty stacked categories, and I feel like this is a spot where you could see these miss, especially akin to something like Dune Part 2, where it came out, people, us included, were like, oh my gosh, 10 nominations, book it, doesn't matter if it's a sequel, it's gonna get there. At the end of the day, it missed some pretty key categories, but Project Hail Mary, I feel like it's in that 5 or 6 spot for both cinematography and production design. And then finally, we have Ryan Gosling, and I think this will be the true question of how strong is Project Hail Mary in the awards season race. If Gosling can get the nomination, this is a top 5 movie. If Gosling just gets in that Globe and maybe CCA, then it might not be a top 5 movie. But I can definitely see him getting at least 2 precursors, and then I think the actor award and the BAFTA will be the giant question marks for if Ryan Gosling can get another Oscar nomination here. But that brings us to the end of the video. If you made it this far, thank you so much for listening to me yap about Project Hail Mary. Like I said, shorter review, and that's because I want you to experience this movie for yourself. So if you've already seen it, let me know down in the comments what your thoughts were on this film, its Oscar prospects, as well as just how do you like it as a movie. And if you haven't seen it yet, well, you are in for quite a ride. I really hope that you do enjoy it. But until next time, my name's Dyl. This has been Fantasy Filmball. Peace.